There's a mistake I used to make in the earlier years of doing this job. For context, I'm a driving instructor and I've been teaching people to drive in Great Britain since 2009. And this mistake makes it harder for learners to learn to drive because it can increase their anxiety, which makes it harder for them to trust their judgment and make sound decisions. And although I've learned from this mistake, I can still see the problems this teaching method causes from pupils that I get from other instructors. And it's much harder to undo these problems than it is to avoid them in the first place. And that mistake is not allowing the pupil to listen to their own judgment. Let's say I'm a learner driver. I'm not a complete beginner. I've learned how to move, stop, change gear. I can turn left and right at basic junctions, but I'm not very good. I need help and I'm slow. So I'm going to move away. Let's get going. And I'm going to get up to second gear. And okay, right now I'm moving, and this is how fast I can go. I can't go any faster than this, because if I was to go faster than this, I would feel out of control. This is my limit. This is my current limit based on how much practice I've had so far. And the instructor doesn't recognize this. And they don't encourage their pupil to listen to that. They don't encourage them to listen to their own limit. And they tell them to go left at the end of the road onto a main road where doing 10-15 mile an hour is just not acceptable. Can't do that on this road. If you can only do 15 miles an hour, you should not be driving on this road. So, pull out. Okay, done pretty well, done the pedals well, got the steering just about right. And good, they've got second gear. Worried about this cyclist yet, that looks safe, they're waiting. And then they get to their speed again where they can just about handle it, but you can't do 15 miles an hour on this road. So the instructor's like, you've got to go faster. It's 30 limit, main road, get up to speed. Okay, so now what they're doing is they're going faster, not because they feel in control, but because they're being told to. They're ignoring their judgment that this is too fast, and they're doing what their instructor has told them to do. They're really struggling with this bend, and instructors are going, you're too near the curb, go more to the right. Well, it's because they're not in control of the car. They haven't got this far yet. And they get up to third gear. Come on, need to go faster, get it to 30 miles an hour, it's a 30 limit, can't go this slow on this road. And their steering's a bit off and they're feeling really stressed, and they're learning, tell you what they're learning, is they're learning to not listen to their judgment, not listen to their feelings. They're learning to go faster than they can handle. They're learning to ignore their own judgment. So what's happening there is from the very early stages of driving, the driving instructor is encouraging the driver to drive faster than they can handle. The driving instructor is encouraging the driver to ignore their judgment. So, ignore your judgment and drive faster than you feel comfortable going. What's the long-term implications of that? So it's no surprise if the driver starts to feel stressed and anxious, if they're driving beyond their limits. If they are ignoring their judgment is saying, nope, you can't handle this, this is too fast for you, but they're going faster anyway. The driver is going to feel stressed, they're going to feel anxious, and they're going to start to feel like they have anxiety towards driving, when in fact, they may not have anxiety towards driving. They may just have a normal level of anxiety for going too fast than they can handle. That's actually helpful when it comes to driving. If they were to listen to that anxiety, they may actually drive at a more sensible speed for their ability, make better decisions, and feel more comfortable. A similar thing can happen at junctions when the driving instructor is telling the pupil when to go, when the pupil doesn't feel it's safe to go. That opportunity doesn't feel safe to them. They go because the instructor has told them to go, but they feel stressed and anxious. Then they get to the next junction and they're thinking, oh, that opportunity doesn't look big enough, but I went last time when I felt stressed and anxious about it, so I guess I better go this time. This time the instructor's not happy. What did you do? Why did you pull out there? That's not safe. Well, to the pupil, it's the same. The first one didn't feel comfortable, neither did the second one. They haven't been given a chance to develop their own judgment. They're trying to guess when the instructor wants them to go. In this video, I'm giving the example of where the driving instructor is causing the anxiety by making the learner driver drive beyond their ability. But learner drivers can do this for themselves. They can drive too quickly, beyond their ability, faster than they can handle. They can pull out at junctions when they're not sure, or they can put me under pressure to take them places that they're not yet ready to do safely. When this is the case, I need to figure out why. What's causing you to try and do this quickly? Why aren't you driving within your own ability? Are you worried about holding people up? Are you worried about money? Do you think if you drive faster than you can handle, or drive in areas that you can't yet do safely, you're going to learn in less hours and it's going to cost you less money? Well, rushing generally doesn't end well. Are you in competition with friends trying to learn more quickly than they are? Or are you thinking you've got to get up to the speed limit as soon as you pull out into the road regardless of hazards? What is it that's causing you to keep going beyond your ability? Once they become aware of what's controlling them, it tends to control them less. They take back more control. So awareness is key. If you think this is you, if you think it's not your instructor causing your anxiety, but you're causing your own anxiety because you're asking too much of yourself, well, I have a link to a video up there which may help. When I'm helping my pupils at junctions, I don't tell them when to go. They go when they feel comfortable. What I do is I commentate on the situation. I'll be like, that car's quite far away. Do you have time, or is that not enough time? Or that vehicle up there, they're signalling left. Does that mean you've got time to pull out? Does that mean they're coming? My pupil though, they only go when they feel it's safe. That way they're learning to trust their judgment and they are developing their judgment. And at the beginning, they need big opportunities, partly because it takes them a long time to get the car moving. But as their skill improves and their judgment improves, they gradually need smaller and smaller opportunities. But they're not second guessing themselves. They trust their own decision. When it comes to speed, I allow my pupils to go as slow as they need to feel comfortable. In fact, I encourage it. I tell them, only go as fast as you can handle. And if they start to get a bit wobbly, I'll tell them slow down a little bit because this feels like it's beyond your ability. In doing this, they feel less stressed, less anxious, and therefore their confidence increases. And with practice, their skill increases and then their speed increases with it, instead of trying to artificially push their speed above their current confidence and skill level. Now, you may be thinking it's going to take ages to learn to drive this way, but actually I find the opposite is true. If I allow my pupils to go as slow as they need to be within their skill and confidence level, I find their skill and confidence level improves more quickly than if I artificially push their speed above their skill and confidence level. If I push their speed above their skill and confidence level, this causes anxiety, and overall it usually ends up with them taking longer to learn to drive than if I allow them to grow at their own pace. The key to allowing my pupils to drive as slow as they need so that they feel comfortable and in control, and only take opportunities at junctions they feel comfortable with so they can develop their own judgment, is an appropriate route which suits their level. This is why at the beginning we don't just drive here, there and everywhere, or just drive where they happen to live. They go to a specific route that suits their current level. Okay, what can you do then? If you feel this video relates to you, what can you do to feel less anxious about driving? My advice is to start listening to that anxiety. And that's not going to be as easy as it seems, because quite often when I see someone is anxious about driving and they're tense and they're like this, their head's pushed back into the seat, and I ask them if they're anxious, they don't think they are. And then when they stop driving, they're all relaxed like this again. I can clearly see they are anxious, but they don't realise it because they're so used to feeling that way. But that's normal. That's not anxious. For them to be anxious, it's got to be like really anxious. So to really actually start to listen to yourself and feel, am I genuinely relaxed at the moment? And then go somewhere where you can drive slowly and go slower and slower and slower until you start to genuinely feel relaxed. Once you feel relaxed, drive at that speed for a while. And then as you feel like you can maybe go faster, gradually increase your speed. Try to keep your speed within that limit which makes you feel relaxed. Listen to yourself and let yourself judge how fast you should go. It's really important to choose a suitable route though. Make sure the route means that when you're driving at the speed you think you're going to have to drive at to feel comfortable, you're not going to be holding up traffic. Now, when you're learning to drive, you need to accept, you do need to accept you're going to slow people up, you're going to hold some people up. But there's holding some people up for a bit and then there's causing a big problem. You don't want to be driving down a main road with a 60-mile-per-hour limit doing 25 miles an hour for 15 minutes. That's just not fair. So if you feel like you're going to be doing 15 miles an hour, go to a residential area where you can go left, 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 left and do circles. That way people aren't going to be behind you for long unless they're following you because you're driving in circles, or right, 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 right. And then as you get better, gradually go to roads where you need to go a little bit faster. I should also mention that it's not only unfair to be driving at 25 miles per hour on a road where it's safe to do closer to 60, but it can also make the road less safe as you encourage people to overtake you. Another bit of advice I will give is to stick to roads where there are plenty of spaces to pull over. That way, if you start to see traffic building up behind, you can pull over and let them pass. Also, that gives you practice with pulling over at the side of the road and then moving away again. Try to avoid what I call module-free roads. Module-free roads is where there is nowhere to pull over. Try to avoid those roads until you feel like you can keep somewhere close to the flow of traffic. If you're interested in my learning order and my 4 modules, I'll leave a link to a video up there. It is true that everybody has different levels of anxiety towards driving. People with higher levels of anxiety are probably going to have to drive at even lower speeds before they start to feel comfortable and no longer feel anxious. And they're likely also going to have to stay at those lower speeds for longer before their confidence improves and they can go faster. But what's true for everybody is if I push their speed above their current skill and confidence level, it causes anxiety, which causes problems and usually makes people take longer to learn to drive. My advice is to listen to that anxiety. Drive at a speed and in a location where you're no longer feeling anxious. Then practice, let yourself grow and gradually build up your speed and build up the difficulty of the routes that you're driving on without getting to the point where it's starting to make you feel anxious. Listen to that anxiety. If you do that, you'll probably start to enjoy driving. This doesn't mean I never challenge my pupils on their speed or decisions. Most of the time I don't, because as their skill improves and as their confidence improves, their speed goes up with it because they don't want to be going slow and holding people up. But sometimes, even though I can see their skill and confidence has improved, I can see that they're going slower than they can handle. They can go faster and not feel anxious. Then I'll challenge them. Is it safe to go faster here? If you went faster, would you still feel comfortable? They're going slow, not because they need to, it's just because it's easier. And the same at junctions as well. If they're missing easy opportunities and waiting for massive opportunities when I feel like they could take the smaller ones that are still easy, I'll challenge them. I'll say, could you have taken that gap? I'm not telling them off. I'm not telling them to take the gap. I'm just encouraging them to make progress when they feel it's comfortable. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're looking for car insurance, check out the links to Collingwood and Confused in the description. If you're learning to drive and want to insure yourself on somebody else's car, then Collingwood are there for you, because you can do so without affecting the owner's policy. And that takes away a big stress from the owner of that car that you're using to practice your driving in. Via the link at the moment, there's up to 35% off and a £20 gift card. If you want to insure your own car, I recommend checking out the link to confused.com, because you fill out one quote form and get loads of quotes back from many insurers to compare who's cheapest. And you can change your car on that quote as many times as you like without having to do the whole quote again. So it's a quick and easy way to compare how much it costs to insure different cars. Using the links doesn't cost you anything, but it does support the channel. So thank you very much. Subscribe to get my future videos. And until the next one, cheerio.